The Scary of 61st is supposed to be a revival of the exploitation subgenre that modernizes the conventions and grammar of the genre to exploit contemporary issues and conspiracies. And you may have guessed by the words supposed to and be that the film is somewhere between a J-Station video and being trapped in a conversation with someone who is a little too into Genshin Impact. Now, before you sprint to Letterboxd to add this to your ever-growing watch list that rivals the DSM-5, I'd like to sit you down and have an actual conversation with you for once in your life. This is not a so bad it's good film. It's barely even a film. It's more of an intense speed run of the 5 stages of grief. For the 1% of you that haven't been on the internet before, let me give you a brief history lesson of the Lovecraftian deities that spawned this abomination. Dasha Romanoff was a Tumblr girl that hadn't seen a smile in half a dynasty and fell into the spotlight for appearing on a now deleted InfoWars thing that more resembles a Nathan For You skit. She somehow gained popularity and the nickname Sailor Socialism, because apparently all you need to do to get Twitter famous is sip iced tea and say vaguely political talk. Slay Queen. Wanting to keep her niche internet celebrity status, Dasha started a podcast because of fucking course she did. It's like a horror movie using religious imagery. It would be blasphemy if it didn't. The podcast gained notoriety for effectively being a thinly veiled platform for Dasha and friends to Hail Mary edgy jokes at each other like it's the Laugh Factory in 2006. But after the Tumblr crowd moved on to their next obsession, Dasha was left needing to claw at fame the only way she knew how, and made the most logical progression of her career: co-writing and co-directing a feature film with Harley Quinn. I was originally wanting to watch it because of its supposed wrong-headedness, but after the adrenaline of politically incorrect head wears off, I lacked the emotional investment to call up the next morning. It is so painfully obvious how little care was given to actually crafting a screenplay, instead relying on shock value to carry the entire film, which only works if you're Daddy Von Trier, but even his graphic films have more personality than a horse girl's Tinder profile. The level of writing is on par with the Call of Duty lobby when their collective piss jar privileges have been revoked. Every single character speaks with the exact same dialect, sentence structure, and rhythm, only made worse by how unashamedly they are author surrogates. But it's honestly an insult to most writers to call these characters, because they're so devoid of personality that you could replace them with cardboard cutouts and I wouldn't notice nor care. Majority of their dialogue is just quote-unquote red-pilling, i.e. saying the most provocative thing you can think of and providing very little evidence, originality, or creativity. It's the equivalent of a 12-year-old making a Hitler joke. According to the wise teachings of Dasha, compelling dialogue is not back and forth verbal sparring, but presenting a class PowerPoint that you made at 3 AM as each line feels like placeholder text written by a politically incorrect cleverbot. Characters talk at great lengths about Epstein conspiracies, and you'll be happy to hear that the film intercuts their rants with compressed YouTube videos like it's a YTP from 2007. Apparently they couldn't find a good YouTube to MP4 converter, which to be fair took me more than 3 seconds. But anyway, I'm getting off track, which isn't really a subtle segue into the lack of narrative cohesion and focus, but hey, look what I'm dealing with. The A and B plot have so little connection that they might as well be 2 entirely different films, which is not a suggestion. Put the fucking pen and paper down. The actual story is so predictable that it nullifies all potential emotional reactions unless you count sheer boredom to be one of them. Friends buy an apartment, person tells them it's haunted, do nothing for the second act, end with the ambiguity of did they die or was it all a hallucination. Fucking Scooby-Doo has more intrigue and plot development than this. It barely even feels like a first draft, but goddamn you know Dasha will cover this up with, you see it's a homage to the exploitation subgenre. The shitty writing was an intentional echo, and it's thus beyond criticism because I am the author. And in response to that, all I have to say is that Roland Barthes was a little too kind to authors when he suggested killing them. Look, I appreciate the vegan approach to writing, but this script needed a lot more meat on the bone. But what do I know? I didn't write a scene of me and a friend making out in 16mm. Dasha, it's honestly impressive that you managed to make a film shot on 16mm look this shit. A good 60% of it is out of focus and the rest was incredibly flat and boring, which credit where credit is due is a neat metaphorical extension of your self-inserts. The film has such an astonishing lack of effort put into how these ideas were presented. The blocking and staging is student filmed here, the production design lacks idiosyncrasy, the lighting is non-fucking existent, but oh boy, the cinematography as well. Well, it was shot on a camera, I can tell you that. Most of the film is just A-B shot reverse shot with the only iota of creativity save for the explicitly graphic or weirder scenes. And even in those scenes, it's so incredibly blunt where the inspiration came from to the point that it's just ripping it off. Dasha, I'm glad that you saw Possession, but that doesn't mean you can make a fanfic of it and pretend it's some subversive revival of the exploitation subgenre. You've just made an inferior copy that reveals that you have no talent or personality at all. You are the equivalent of a fan edit account. Actually, that's too high of a praise because at least fan cams care about what music they select. It's not good music, but at the bare minimum, it's motivated, tonally appropriate, and interesting beyond using Stranger Things as temp music. I mean, just listen to Censor's score, which not only adds to the atmosphere and tone, but above all, is actually memorable. Look, I wouldn't be making such bold claims on the stand, but I would like to submit the evidence of Dasha's performance and let that speak for itself.
Open their eyes to the realities of pedophilic corruption. Do you feel like you're being watched?
I mean, it's about as good as her performance in Succession, so good job being consistent, I guess. But it isn't helped by Madeline Quinn looking like she just auditioned for a Donald Farmer film. At least Betsy Brown was trying. I will give her that. Shame that you kinda need a strong director and script to actually get a good performance though. I will at least give this film a singular bonus point for making me simultaneously annoyed to the point of writing a shitty review and bored to the point of peeling stickers off my Blu-rays. So if you managed to make it to the end of whatever this was and are wanting to see an interesting take on the exploitation/video nasty genre, then definitely check out Censor by British Woman with Cool Name or Death King by look, I never learnt how to read Shakespeare. Both films have wildly different goals than The Scary of 61st, but it's at least more interesting with better cinematography, production design, score, and fucking title. So what's that, like a 2? Yeah, I think that's a 2.